What is going on, everybody? It's KB. Before the episode starts, make sure you go check out StreamerSZN's brand new theme music. That's right. We have full-time, brand new theme music thanks to the newest homie and newest member of the music side of Underground Sports Philadelphia homies. That is Mobley. Stay Volk. His new single is out now. It is linked in the description on YouTube, and you'll be hearing it on audio until we can figure out if we can play it on video on StreamerSZN episodes from here on out. That's our new theme music. Stay Volk. Go download it now wherever you get your music, and go check out the music video on YouTube. But now, let's get into the episode of StreamerSZN.
Philadelphia, baby, you're gonna love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
3, 2. Dylan's bonking over here. Kyle, this is your cue to insert the color bar scratch. What is going on, fellow streamers? Welcome into an in-person edition of StreamerSZN, the exclusive TV and movie podcast for streaming platforms on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. Here's a little ASMR for everybody.
Wow.
Not a sponsor, so we're not telling you what that was, but you can guess in the YouTube comments below. It's KB and Dylan coming at you from Dylan's Underground studio. We have a lot to get into on this episode.
Yes, sir.
Talking She-Hulk episode 2, which was mind-blowingly short, yet
I like that.
they packed in so much into a 25-minute runtime episode. And then cue the music. House of the Dragon episode 1, which we will have a big announcement right before we start that segment.
And I just watched it.
We just watched it. I watched it for a second time to kind of just like get my brain flowing properly, because for the folks at home that don't know, I'm equating this, Dylan, to essentially the Marvel timeline watch order for Game of Thrones, where like I'm going and watching the things that happened first. And that's what I did. I watched House of the Dragon episode 1. We're going to talk about that.
Nice.
And we're going to get into everybody's favorite segment, the streaming platform Multiverse News and Notes, brought to you by the homies over at Pickup. But before we get started, make sure you're following us on the socials at StreamerSZN on Twitter, on Instagram. Follow Dylan on Twitter at Dylan Mazzola. Follow me on Twitter at KBIZZL311. Follow the network on Twitter and Instagram at UndergroundPHI. Check out the website, undergroundsportsphiladelphia.com, for all of our written content. Subscribe to the podcast feed, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Dylan, what should they be leaving in the podcast reviews on Apple?
We get to do it in person.
In person for the first time, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think so. But no, as always, it doesn't change because we're in person. You guys are going to leave in the comments and the likes and the reviews, all that good stuff. But in those comments and in those reviews, you're gonna give Kyle and I ideas on what to watch next. We have all the services, literally all of them. I mean, behind me, I'm signed into the HBO Max, and on that device, there's tons and tons. So just please let us know what to watch.
Let us know what you're watching.
Kyle, I just watched Game of Thrones with Kyle, and like that's crazy to think because
in the year of our Lord 2022.
because Kyle has said some outlandish, out-pocket things about Game of Thrones in the past, rightfully so. And I just watched it with him. So the point is, give us an idea, and we'll do it.
So leave those 5-star reviews on Apple, 5-star ratings on Spotify.
Yes.
Just run it up. Share it with your friends. And, of course, subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. You have full video episodes of every single episode of StreamerSZN, plus every Underground Sports Philadelphia podcast. That's the main show. That's Outside the Box. That's Top Bins with Matt and Dom. Get in the Hole with Steve and our new co-host, professional golfer Ben Pirro.
That's awesome.
That's the Loaded Box Fantasy Football Podcast with Pat Pitts and OC coming to the channel later this week. That's the Dan Russo Show that just premiered season 5.
A lot of content.
That's Eagles Enemies with your boy every single week during Eagles season. So subscribe to the YouTube channel. Comment down below your thoughts on She-Hulk episode 2, your theories, House of the Dragon episode 1, and like Dylan said, whatever you're watching on your favorite streaming platform, let us know because we want to watch it with you. Big thank you to our sponsors who make this show happen. Tomahawk Shades, the best small batch eyewear in the game. You got to be rocking those blue light plus glasses when you're taking yo ass to Westeros. So go to TomahawkShades.com. Use code USP at checkout for 25% off your order at TomahawkShades.com. Kenwood Beer, Dylan's favorite beer when he's watching dragons light up some dead people.
Yes.
Go to KenwoodBeer.com. Dylan, they tweeted those beautiful, beautiful
Dude,
rope hat snapbacks that are
those
dropping
hats
soon.
Are sick. And Kenwood, if you're watching, don't watch me. This is not this for all. Yeah, this is actually Kenwood. Yeah.
We just blur the can.
Let's go with that. This is Kenwood. Yeah.
We will be getting those hats very, very soon because for those of you that know, I am on a full-blown rope hat kink swing. Love them right now. They're my favorite type of hat. And Kenwood's dropping the most beautiful ones. They tweeted it on their Twitter because that's the only place you can tweet. So go to KenwoodBeer.com. Use that Kenny tracker to see who's got Kenwood Beer on tap in the Philadelphia area. You got to be 21 or older to do so. And, of course, please drink responsibly. Plus, the boys over at Bino. Go to BinoBoard.com. Get your hands on that Gila Monster board. That thing looks like a dragon lit that bitch up. And now it's a sand. It's a sand surface.
I Googled the sand one. It looks crazy.
It's sick. Go to BinoBoard.com and use code BinoUSP at checkout for 10% off your order at BinoBoard.com. Dylan, let's Hulk out for our favorite muscle mommy. She-Hulk episode 2 dropped today as we record this on Thursday. Very short episode.
Yeah, it was only 30 minutes, and that's not including opening
about
the opening
4
Marvel
minutes of
scene,
credits.
credit and scene. Yeah.
But I didn't hate it. I thought it was a good last inclusion of like everything for the most part that we've seen in the trailers, plus a shit ton more content that I was not expecting from episode 2 of 9. Your initial thoughts before we get into the breakdown.
I was right about who she's defending. I think you agreed as well on that, so we both called that.
So we open up with Jennifer Walters being the hero at the bar, but not the hero following her hulking out in the courtroom. We get the newscasts all over Los Angeles talking about a new hero. They refer to Titania as a superhuman influencer. And
didn't they say she was like low on sugar or something?
They said her blood sugar was low. So Titania allegedly a diabetic.
Searching for candy, question mark?
Yeah. Where's the candy?
Right here.
So then we see everything, and then we get the name drop. She-Hulk very early on in the season and very early on in this episode. So we get that name drop there. And Jen's now a hero at the bar, but
a legend even.
Gets fired for hulking out in the courtroom.
I was going to say, so just because you're a legend at the bar, folks, just like in real life, doesn't always mean you're a legend at work.
Yes. So she loses her job. Everything that she spent the student loans on and everything just gets yanked from her as the defendant was basically calling a mistrial for everything that happened. Jen's at the bar. She's balling on a budget now. Can't afford the drinks anymore. And then we see Homeboy, who called the mistrial on her, offer her a job to come work for him. So she gets fired because of him and then gets hired because of him. And he wants her to come work at their law firm to work in the new superhuman division.
Clearly this is the bad guy, right? Like there's no doubt.
I'm still
a bad guy, I guess.
He's definitely a bad. He kind of reminds me of what Hayward was in WandaVision.
Okay.
It's very funny that they both have H last names. But that's what he kind of reminds me of, where I don't know if he's going to be the full-blown villain.
Which could be a subplot.
Right. I think he's going to be one of those like underlying like red herring villains.
Like a D or C tier villain.
Yeah, like he'll be a certified dickhead for sure. But I don't know if he's going to be the actual full-blown villain. And basically, Dylan, I don't know if you caught this. Let's tap into this a little bit. When Jen is scrolling the website for, career revival jobs after getting fired.
Yeah. Did
you see the advertisements that were on the website?
I did not, because hopefully my work's not listening. I watched it at work.
Wah, wah. So, there was an advertisement for Iron Man 3s, some shoes. Very funny.
That's funny.
Underneath the Iron Man 3s, there were article links, basically. One of them, finally...
Is tinfoil hat coming on yet or no?
I think your jaw's about to drop. because it's not exactly tin that we're talking about. The first one, though, we finally get reference to Tiamat just being out in the Indian Ocean, chilling. It's like, what is that giant thing out in the Indian Ocean doing?
Yeah. Fair.
And then I'm gonna look this up on Twitter.
That's fine.
Just to have it verbatim,
Smart
because this is a huge reveal, in my opinion, for
Huge.
616. So the Iron Man 3, the related articles to what Jen Walters was looking at. Why is there a giant statue of a man sticking out of the ocean? Then it kind of cuts off and it says scientists discover, and you can't see what's underneath. But the first main article, Dylan, this is going to get you very happy.
I probably will be happy.
Man fights with metal claws in bar brawl.
Which makes sense because there's quite a few versions and iterations of Logan and Hawk fighting and helping each other. They're kind of characters that work well with each other, given Logan's ability to, not die, essentially. Mm-hmm. And then, anybody who's a Hawk ability to be, I don't know, like a moving freight train.
Right.
Which also makes for good fights, Marvel.
And we all know from that original X-Men movie that Kevin Feige was an associate producer on, got his start in the business because of the X-Men. Wolverine gets in that bar brawl.
That's a good point.
Wolverine exists in 616 in some capacity now.
But my only question with that is, does that mean he's the first mutant, or is it not counting him as a mutant because he was...
I think he's...
Science-y boy now at this point.
He is a mutant, but I think...
But
are you talking like for the MCU 616 first mutant? I think it's Kamala Khan.
So if... Oh, okay, true. Yeah, because I was just saying with Logan, if he's actually legit, it's an Easter egg. We'll take it for what it is. But like with the story of Logan, he obviously has his like bone claws.
Correct.
And then gets metal.
The adamantium.
Thank you. So at that point, I guess technically he's still a mutant because of his health, but at the same time he's also a science project. Yeah,
and I think very similar to how they did Tom Holland's Spider-Man, where we didn't really get an origin story. We didn't see
just kind of like...
I think that's what they're going to do with a lot of the mutants, too, where it's like, hey, they exist, they're here.
Yeah.
I saw a good theory. I think MT from New Rockstars brought this up. Like, the amount of just, like, cosmic radiation from all the snaps that happened might have some sort of play in how people have their DNA kind of mutated, because it's out there floating in the air, and, like... We got, 3 snaps when Thanos snapped the first time. We had Hulk snap. We had Tony snap. Like, there's a lot of that cosmic Infinity Stone radiation out there that's still at play. And I think that might be part of how they incorporate some of the mutants into the MCU.
That's true. And Earth in the MCU has been invaded by quite a few different alien species.
Yes.
And just like in real life, when... people have visited places for the first time, they bring diseases, so you're not wrong in terms of, like, it's very feasible to go that route. And I would actually like that to be the route they go. Like, between Skrulls and et cetera, and Thanos is snapping and the radiation, people are going to get a little freaky.
Yes.
As Jalen Hurts once said.
Let's get freaky.
Let's get freaky.
We have Jen call our boy Bruce Banner Smart Hulk as well to... Hawk. Let her know that her new job wants her to defend one Emil Blonsky.
Smart Hawk is proving your theory, or what you're talking about, like last episode, right?
We're getting a little close to that World War Hulk, Dylan. But I love this phone call sequence because, Jen asked, "Hey, are you okay with this?" Like, da. Hulk's like, "Yeah, Emil sent me a haiku a few years ago. We smoothed things out," and quote. That fight was so many years ago. I'm a completely different person now. Literally.
Which is a great joke / Easter egg in itself.
Incredible.
Because as we all know, the Incredible Hulk has been... This is our third live-action Incredible Hulk. It was first Eric Bana, however you pronounce his name.
Eric Bana, I think.
Bana, there you go. Which is kind of ironic because Bruce Banner.
Yeah.
Eric Bana. Now that I think about that. The infamous good actor, terrible person, Edward Norton, apparently. I don't know him. And then Mark Ruffalo now.
Yes. Great joke. Great
yes.
delivery there. And then Jen asks Hulk if he's going to be coming out to LA anytime soon. And he says, well, not really. I got some things I got to take care of. And then we pan out and we see the Hulk is not exactly in his lab that we saw in episode 1, but he is on that Sakaar spaceship, Dylan. Hulk's going to space. I think he's been going to space for quite some time because we saw that, Battle Royale champion helmet that he had there in episode 1 in his little cabana. I don't know. It's starting to feel like Hulk's been making a lot of trips to Sakaar lately, and this also happening in She-Hulk, which this is the first show post Thor: Love and Thunder, because the announced cut scene from Thor: Love and Thunder where allegedly Christian Bale filmed things with Peter Dinklage and Jeff Goldblum. This makes a little more sense as to potentially why the scene with Gore the God Butcher and Jeff Goldblum's character was cut. Because if Hulk is going to be a massive part of this show, and I know they've lied to us now on IMDb twice because we have not seen our favorite boy Charlie Cox yet.
Yeah.
If the Hulk's going to be in all 9 episodes, though, we're going to have to see him in outer space on Sakaar, which makes me think we're going to see Jeff Goldblum in some capacity.
I hope so, but it's starting to feel like IMDb screwed the pooch, and I feel like we might only see Charlie Cox for like a episode at this point because it just doesn't feel like he's going to pop up organically in any way, which I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But to go with your point, I do like how they're incorporating space and Sakaar and Hulk, and maybe I just thought of it when you're talking. Maybe he's going there because he's regressing as Smart Hawk and can't control it. So maybe him going in outer space is him getting his freak on and just going batshit crazy.
I don't hate that.
Because if he's going to be a champion again, right?
Right.
Unless he owes like money or something, which would be funny. It's like the Big Lebowski, but in space.
Mm-hmm. Which the Big Lebowski's been referenced in Marvel with Thor.
That's true. But the point is, that's a good point. Point is, like, when he's a champion, he is regular Hawk. I mean, he's a little more,
right? A
little more. I don't want to say nice, but a little more like conscience. You know what I mean? Like he's kind of there, but he's still very much the Hawk.
Right.
And if he's going to that planet to allegedly compete or fight, the OG brute Hawk is probably more preferable than the combined personas.
Right. That's a good. I didn't even think of that really, but I like that, especially now that his little prototype machine to kind of retract him from being the Hulk is broken. That's a good theory.
Because maybe, for all we know, Bruce made a deal with himself, with Hawk. Hey, we'll go to this planet. You get to smash things. You get to maybe even murder. Mm-hmm. And then we go back to Earth, and we're one again.
I also thought of something because he is in the Smart Hulk form. He's got all this knowledge and everything now. Potentially, he's like Sakaar's like lead scientist.
That's cool too.
And like is helping them kind of regain like everything after they lost so much, from people losing in champion duels and everything like that. And now that he has all this technology, has all this information about everything that happened in the blip, like we don't know what happened on Sakaar during the blip. So much shit could have happened. I feel like he could also potentially be like helping them kind of like progress as a civilization almost.
Going
which
back
would be
and making amends. Maybe he, as Smart Hawk, is actually like taking away the fighting pits, and like to go on your point, is making them a civilized society.
Or he's got a son on the way.
That could be also another theory.
We also meet Jen's parents. This is the second straight show that we get like a family dynamic, which I like.
Yes, and you can tell they're definitely seasoned vets with green people in that family because no one gives a fuck.
Yes, and it's clear that cousin Ched is not a smart cookie.
No,
got promoted at Best Buy though. Best Buy MCU canon. That's pretty interesting.
We stand Ched though. he's a working man, Kyle.
He's a working man. And then also in this episode, we get obviously the Emil Blonsky stuff, which we're gonna get into here.
Yeah. Why are they trying to make his character like mentally unstable?
Yes.
Which I get, I guess.
You get it towards that end of the episode.
Yeah.
Of like, is he playing some sort of game here? I mean, Blonsky's wearing Crocs for crying out loud. I don't know if anybody picked up on that.
Were they in sport mode though?
That's a good. Easter egg that we'll have to go back and look at. Blonsky's in the prison that we previously saw in Miss Marvel that the clandestines easily escaped from somehow. We all know how we felt about the clandestines, though. Blonsky's in there, and he kind of drops what I found as like a little nugget. He's got 7, what did he call them? 7 soulmates is what he called them. Now, Dylan, I know there is a scene where there's like people up top in that protective facility of his prison cell. The 7 soulmates thing to me felt like a reference to the Thunderbolts.
That would make the most sense because his character is not one to show split personas like a Moon Knight or a what's the M. Night Shyamalan movie with what's his face? The guy from X-Men. He goes crazy. He says like James McAvoy.
Yeah.
It's Split, right? Is it Split?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he's not like that kind of vibe. Like he may be crazy, may not be crazy. But yeah, I agree. He's definitely referencing that.
Yeah. So I think he's referencing that there, which also makes me think that like Val is going to show up at some point.
She'll definitely have at least I would say like a hint or a name drop. But I also think I wouldn't be surprised if she's like a cameo or just like a hi, I'm Val, here's my card kind of thing.
Yeah, like we kind of saw in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier with her and John Walker.
Scoop John Walker up. She was like, I like you.
Well, she wasn't the first one to scoop up Abomination because Jen's new boss calls her and says, you might want to turn on the TV. We turn on the TV, Dylan, and it was referenced last week that She-Hulk takes place shortly after everything with Shang-Chi and the 10 Rings. We see Abomination in the Golden Daggers Club getting his freak on, fighting in that cage match against Wong that we saw in Shang-Chi on the news. So it's very interesting from this aspect, and we'll talk about this right now. Like,
they're happening almost at the same time.
Happening pretty much at the same time there, but also an underground fight club was being broadcast to the world, which we saw phones out and everything in the Golden Daggers Club with people recording stuff. And obviously we saw on the bus, homeboy that came back from Spider-Man Homecoming was live.
Someone snitched, bro.
Somebody posted that video, sent it to the news, and now the Golden Daggers, I mean, that opens up a huge can of worms in my head canon that do people now know that the 10 Rings are still bumping and grinding around?
Well, at the very least, they learned that a literal fight club with metahumans exist, and you can make an educated guess even if you didn't know in the MCU, if you were alive, you didn't know what the 10 Rings were, you could still fathom and put together someone's organizing this evil fight ring. Whether you know it's, whether you know it's them or not, because of how much background knowledge you have. Because the same thing with real life. People are educated on stuff. People are not. So there are people that would know exactly what they are. There's people that would have the tinfoil hats and they'd be like, oh, they're real. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you know what I mean? But yeah, I do. That's an interesting way to look at it, though.
Now to bring back the little Wolverine Easter egg that we had on the website there.
I will always talk about my boy.
Obviously, we have the unnamed Shang-Chi series.
Yes.
That is announced, just don't know when and what. We both have speculated as soon as we saw Shang-Chi and saw that the 10 Rings would return. We're going to get a fight club, tournament-style kung fu tournament show.
Crime kung fu tournament-esque show.
Knowing the crazy fighting instincts of Wolverine, tinfoil prediction number 1 here for She-Hulk.
His debut is on there.
Logan Wolverine is going to be in that Kung Fu tournament fighting against whoever shows up.
Well, if you want to go down the tinfoil rabbit hole for one more second, I guess, I'll ask this for the people watching. Who would you like to be the next Wolverine? Or do you think? Do you have any... I know.
We all know Hugh Jackman's going to show up for Secret Wars, with every variant showing up. it's bound to
He's
happen.
going to be a cameo, but he's not going to reprise the role
Right.
in the sense of being a feature-length film Wolverine.
Correct. Like, he's not
I
going to be
doubt
the
it.
long-term Wolverine.
He did say he would come back for a movie if it was,
And I think it was last summer we saw his Instagram story. He was with Kevin Feige, posted a photo with him, posted the Wolverine claws.
and then took it down.
Right.
Granted, I think he was just trolling, to be honest. But at the same time, I think he did say that he wanted to be in an Avengers movie or a team. He wanted to be with some other hero. Point is,
And then there was the rumored, Chris Evans, when the rumor came out that he's going to come back for 2 more Captain America movies. Everybody knows the backstory of Logan being in the World War II era and everything.
they fight together.
And they fight together. That I would love with Hugh Jackman,
and
Chris Evans. That would be fucking phenomenal.
And the same actors that played like his squad in the OG Captain America.
Yes.
Like the dude with the bowler hat.
Bucky, that would
that'd
be
be
great.
awesome. Red Skull again.
I think Red Skull's coming back sooner than we think.
They won't get the same actor again, unfortunately. He's like really weird with roles. Hugo Weaving. But so any fan cast? Any idea who you would want as Logan? I know a lot of people are set on either. There's the Daniel Radcliffe hype train.
I'm big hype on that.
There was the
other one that we
actor
talked
from the
about.
Kingsman. What's his name?
Oh, what is his name? I'll pull it up here.
Aaron something with a T, like something Aaron Eggart Taggart.
Tagar, some.
I don't know. Taron Eggart. I don't know. I'm so close.
Up here.
Someone's watching like this kid's dumb.
No, not Aaron.
Type in
Tager.
Kingsman.
That boy is old.
Type in
The Kingsman.
Kingsman. Or he's in Sing, I think too. But the Kingsman.
Cast. Taron Egerton.
Okay,
We
I
were
was
close.
like, I was there.
We were close. Yeah, we talked about that a few months ago.
He recently bulked up.
Right.
Don't mind me, folks. Just eating this generic ShopRite brand, not naming the product.
And then the rumor out there was saying that he's down to play it and everything like that. So
he did confirm he was approached by Marvel before to play Cyclops.
Okay. Wouldn't hate that either.
And said he didn't want to do it because he wanted people to see his eyes.
Interesting.
In his words, I believe he said, because the eyes, as my profession, are like the weight of the soul or something like that. Which I can respect that.
I can respect that.
So he said no. But maybe they reapproached him.
Him or Radcliffe make a ton of sense.
You want to get one of those guys because they're in their 30s and the
Can
lower
do
30s.
multiple movies.
They're both not tall guys. They're tiny.
And I think both of them have a big fan base, especially Daniel Radcliffe, obviously, that it would draw so many people out to the movie theater to see any movie with
The
Wolverine.
only risk with Radcliffe is would he truly want to do it? Because he ever since he broke away from Harry Potter, he is doing, and rightfully so, he's doing niche little indie type films that he personally enjoys, which is cool.
And he's in that show on FX too.
Yeah.
That's it's the same cast, but they change the plot every season and the setting and everything.
And then Taron is kind of in the same light. Well, same his career's blowing up recently. He had the Kingsman, he did the Elton John movie.
Right. He's
in Sing. I'm sure if you have kids who are listening, they probably watch that. So he's in notable acts, and landing a Marvel film, let alone films, as Logan would be crazy for him. Radcliffe already has, we
has the sensationalized film series. Yeah.
Which could be also a double-edged sword because he's typecasted.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard for someone who he's literally seen as a wizard.
I think it's been
long enough,
a
maybe
good enough time away from Harry Potter, because I think the Deathly Hallows Part 2 came out in 2011.
Which is crazy to think about, by the way.
Nuts. And he's done so many more movies and shows since that I feel like people are now just oh, that's Daniel Radcliffe. He did this horror movie, The Woman in Black. He was in. He's obviously in that FX show that I'm blanking on what it's called. He's being Weird Al Yankovic.
He's the bad guy in that new Sandra Bullock movie with Channing Tatum.
He's in that. He's going to be Weird Al in Weird Al's biopic. I think he's starting to truly branch out
and starting
and
to
be seen as Daniel Radcliffe as opposed to Harry Potter.
That's true.
which is a good thing for his career at this stage.
And it helps because, like I said, both of them are like not tall guys. Hugh Jackman is the opposite; like he's a taller man.
Mm-hmm.
Wolverine, comic book wise, I always get this messed up, and I always forget. So if you're a diehard nerd, I'm sorry, but he is not. He's like I think he's like 5'4" or 5 or maybe 5'6".
At least in the X-Men animated series that I've been watching too, he looks kind of small.
He's not a big guy,
Right?
And
he's bulky, like he's built, but he's not tall.
I think out of the two actors we just named, I think tallest one of the two is like 5'9", 5'8". So that fits the mold of like a smaller guy. I'm not sure.
Taron Egerton's 5'9".
Radcliffe might be like 5'7". He looks pretty tiny.
And Radcliffe is 5'5".
That fits the height requirement.
Yes,
extremely well. Now he would have to put on some muscle though, because normally he is a pretty skinny man.
Yeah.
But either one,
I'm down. But if you have somebody else, comment down below.
That's
on
why I kind of brought this up, and I made sure we talked about it because I would like people to interact and give us their opinion. It's the same thing as like who do you want to be the next James Bond? Like these are questions that are pretty open ended, and it's your preference, and I would like to know.
And then we see Blonsky, Abomination fighting in the Ten Rings compound. And then we get the next post-credit, which we talked about last week in the news and notes that allegedly the first 4 episodes were going to have post-credit scenes done. Mm-hmm. Apparently, every episode is going to have a post-credit scene for She-Hulk, which Disney Plus Marvel shows do this more. Big fan of it. This one was very funny, very jokey. It's just, Jen's back at home as She-Hulk. And I don't know if we mentioned this, too. The reason she got hired, she has to be She-Hulk to do her job. Which I think is also very interesting. The post-credit scene, though, she's just doing, chores around the house, picking up heavy things, lifting like 8 of the giant water cooler jugs, putting the TV mounted on the wall, Ched being like, I could have done that. Very funny post-credit scene. And then we cut to credits. But I feel like they packed so much into this episode that is going to help unravel things down the line. So I didn't necessarily hate that it was as short as it was because we got so much in it. Mm-hmm. But Dylan, for episode 2, what grade does She-Hulk, our Muscle Mommy episode 2, get?
It's gonna be lower. Sorry to disappoint. The length combined with what I watched, combined with the CGI is starting to bug me. I don't hate the show. I think it's it's a breath of fresh air in some ways. But 6 out of 10, bro.
Wow.
I don't know. Something wasn't resonating with me. I don't know. I can't really.
A lot of people online were bummed about the length.
The length, I mean, that's not that knocked maybe 0.3, 0.4 off. It's just that coupled with the CGI is not doing it for me.
I felt like the CGI this episode was better than last week, especially knowing what we knew from last week too. I felt like it was improved.
I like her storyline, but at the same time, I'm not really a sitcom person, and I understand this is a sitcom show, so I'm not going to knock it for that. But me personally, I really do not like sitcoms. It took me a while to appreciate Seinfeld. It took me a while. I didn't watch The Office until my college days, mm-hmm. and even me being an Office guy, I know it can be overrated. And I don't like. Sorry, folks, I don't like How I Met Your Mother. My point is, I'm just not really.
Sarah, don't listen to that part.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I was literally getting ready to say, Sarah, please.
She's right down the road, Dylan. She can hear you.
She's just busting.
She probably broke the fourth wall like She-Hulk. What did he say?
What did he say? No, but in all seriousness, it's just not my cup of tea. And which is fine. But as I'm taking it out with a grain of salt. But the whole narrative, I understand she went to school and but the whole I don't want to say what was me, but I do understand because she worked so hard to become a lawyer. Mm-hmm. But you were given the superhero gift. At the same time, I understand you don't want to be it, but that's literally every other superhero story. I don't want to be a hero, but then they embrace it. And she's not going that route yet. She's kind of taking the long way.
Which I don't think is going to happen until she meets Matt Murdock. Because it's a similar trajectory where Matt wasn't trying to be a superhero. It kind of just happened.
That's true.
And I don't know if you picked up on this too, Dylan. Does Jen defending Blonsky remind you a shit ton of season 2 of Daredevil when Karen Page, Matt, and Foggy are defending our boy Frank Castle?
Yes.
That's where my brain immediately went when you hear all the semantics of what she has to do to defend him and everything, and like her talking to Blonsky in the prison cell and everything like that. I was like, this is how Daredevil kind of loops in a little bit here. There's a lot of parallels there if you've watched Daredevil, which our boy DJ just finished watching all 3 seasons.
Amazing.
And he just watched Hawkeye, so he sees the big reveal there of why I told him to watch Daredevil before Hawkeye, and he absolutely loved it. He said he felt like he was in that fight scene with everybody in the end of season 3 with Bullseye, Kingpin, and Daredevil. So we've gotten more people on the Daredevil hype train.
It's a great show.
But I feel like that's where, if your brain's cooking a little bit like ours and you've watched Daredevil, you're starting to pick up on those parallels. And when Matt shows up, I feel like that's when this show, not that it's like dependent on Daredevil to really make it like go in that high up trajectory, but I feel like that's when the badass of the show kicks in.
It's not knocking She-Hulk or anything else, any narrative. It's just Daredevil is a fan favorite. Not that She-Hulk isn't, but like I know for a fact that Daredevil is a very popular character
for sure,
and She-Hulk is too. But I don't know. I have to pull up a chart of like ranked characters. But my point is, I know Daredevil is like has a devoted group of people that love that character, and him being in the show unlocks a persona within our She-Hulk, and it also canonizes further Matt Murdock, Charlie Cox as Daredevil. So like it's kind of a 2 birds 1 stone situation.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm looking forward to, and I'm not knocking She-Hulk because she's also opening doors like the Hawk War and stuff like that, and bringing back Abomination, further hinting at the Thunderbolts, like Kyle suggested.
I think she's hinting at Deadpool a little bit. We got the Logan Wolverine thing as well,
possibly. So there's good aspects of it. It's just,
and I still think it's very early on too.
That's also true. It's only 2 episodes in. It's really, if you watch the show, weirdly enough, my grades have been going down for the Marvel shows, like progressively, like slowly. And I don't know if it's just me or if it's Marvel, if it's a combination, but that's just, they haven't been able to pull me in, man.
I'm giving this one an 8.1.
That's okay.
I liked the comedy again. Like the jokes hit for me.
I did like,
I like the Easter eggs that we've picked up on so far.
That's true.
I like Hulk going back to space. I think that's going to be a very fun storyline if we continue to see that storyline.
Yes.
And I think the incorporation of Shang-Chi, which everybody out there that was losing their fucking minds about Moon Knight getting removed from the title card for Shang-Chi last week, it makes a lot more sense now, doesn't it? Everybody, dude, I cannot tell you how many like blog type articles I saw that people were like, oh, they're canceling Moon Knight. Moon Knight's done. They're retconning Moon Knight from the MCU. Shut the fuck up. Like, they just introduced the character. It was one of the most popular releases of a new character to the MCU ever. It's arguably in the top 3 Marvel shows on Disney Plus of all time, along with Loki and WandaVision. Like, they're not retconning Moon Knight out of the MCU, you
they're
bozos.
They're literally filming season 2 right now.
Right, like season 2's coming, and it makes way more sense to have Shang-Chi in there than Moon Knight.
Literally in Egypt right now.
Exactly.
Or last I checked.
Slow your horses. Relax. Slow your roll a little bit. And it makes more sense to have Shang-Chi involved because he's on the West Coast. West Coast Avengers, people. It's going to happen. Jen's in L.A. Shang-Chi is in San Francisco. Ant-Man, I believe, is in California as well.
Yeah, San Fran, I thought.
So, relax. It's all coming together.
You want to hit him with Aaron Rodgers?
R-E-L-A-X.
Oh, man.
And seeing Shang-Chi scenes in this episode makes that make a lot more sense now. But I'm giving it an 8.1. Really enjoyed it. For the people at home, that's 14.1 divided by 2. 7.05, which rounds up in traditional math to a 7.1. There it is. Mental math.
Still not bad. Still better than the Book of Boba Fett.
Facts.
Combined score-wise.
Speaking of better,
it's like our white whale I'm just shitting on for shows.
You got to do better. Apparently, Book of Boba Fett's getting season 2 from what I have seen, which hopefully they improve upon it. Dylan, let's get into House of the Dragon episode 1. It happened, like you said at the top of the show, you watched a Game of Thrones property with me.
And it's your second time watching it. And it was even greater because Kyle knew there's a sequence, and if you are not allowed to watch Game of Thrones,
let's just say this for the people: if you have not watched House of the Dragon, if you're lukewarm because of everything from Game of Thrones, which I know how the ending goes down for the people at home, I have never watched Game of Thrones. If you know how the ending happens, I know there's a lot of people, including my dad, who said he's not watching House of the Dragon. There's a lot of people out there. But if you do watch it, if you're on the fence and you decide to watch it, I'm giving you a personal trigger warning at the beginning of the episode throughout the entire episode because this shit is banana land. Dylan, should I texted you earlier today. I tweeted it today as well.
I have no idea, by the way.
Dylan has no clue what I'm about to say.
I was going to ask him what it was, but twice. But
massive announcement.
I'm waiting.
Dylan, obviously we're trying to grow our YouTube channel and our YouTube presence.
Yes, sir.
We're currently sitting at 222 subscribers on the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. In order for us to monetize the channel, continue to grow as a company, we need to hit 1,000 subscribers. That is one of the thresholds. I'm putting this out there for the people now. This is huge growth on my part. This is massive character development, and this is for the good of the company. If we get to 1,000 subscribers, I'm looking right into my camera here. Ladies and gentlemen who watch StreamerSZN, if the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel reaches 1,000 subscribers, when it does, I will watch season 1 of Game of Thrones. There is the challenge.
That's pretty crazy.
I've never watched Game of Thrones in my life.
No, he's not.
Never watched it. Have a personal vendetta. If you listen to this show or the main podcast, you know why.
Everyone in life chooses a show to be a hipster over. I have that belief. And what was mine? Well, I guess mine wasn't a show, but for a while, the Netflix movies like Bird Box.
Still haven't seen that.
Neither have I. Yeah. But I can't think of one right now, but I'll think of one. The point is, Kyle's hipster show was Game of Thrones because everyone, rightfully so, everyone was watching it. They probably shoved it down his face.
That, and then the Kawhi shot happened.
That's also true.
But if we reach 1,000 subscribers, I'm not even putting a time stamp on it for, by this date. Just, we hit 1,000 subscribers, you guys get me watching Game of Thrones. I will live tweet my experience. I will record my face for certain episodes that Dylan says, hey, you should have, reaction moments to this episode.
Yeah, if we get him to watch it, we all know which ones he has to live.
That will happen. I will live tweet it. I will update everybody on my experience. But 1,000 subscribers is just season 1. Season 1, 1,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. Kyle watches Game of Thrones.
And that's how he gets hooked.
That's when I watch. And then if we hit more thresholds, I'll continue to watch. But you got to subscribe to the YouTube channel. So that's the challenge for people out there.
Let's get it up. Let's get to 1,000 because Kyle's going to end up liking it before he knows it.
1,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel gets me to watch season 1 of Game of Thrones.
You will
put the challenge out there for the people.
He'll like it. Come on, folks. Do it.
House of the Dragon episode 1, Dylan.
Do it.
Brought you back to old Westeros, the wild, wild Westeros.
Yeah. Quite a few years back.
172 years to be exact.
Yeah.
Before one Daenerys Targaryen. What were your initial thoughts?
Initial thoughts, honestly, just a brief recap because it is a longer episode and there's a lot of detail. It is slower. It was a kind of plot building.
This is a much more detailed thing than a Star Wars or Marvel show that we normally break down. So we're gonna hit the key points for
I'll give them credit. It was slower, but I guess they knew that, and I feel like they purposely had the action planned out to kind of bring you
Throughout,
back
yes.
in. Like you were like, okay, plot. Oh my
'Cause
God, that
that's-
man's testicles.
That's how I
Oh,
felt
God.
in my first watch through. I was like, man, this is tough to like get through. Like it felt like I was like running through quicksand. Watching it a second time, and I don't know if it's because I kind of knew the pacing then, it was a much easier watch the second time around. So
Yeah.
if you feel that way watching it the first time, take a little break and maybe like a day or two later, watch it again. It'll be a much easier watch.
And Kyle actually, ironically, because he literally has never watched Game of Thrones, perfectly described what you experience when you watch the OG one. It takes an episode or two to get that style, that pacing, because, you know, shows have different ways of telling their stories. And once you kind of get the vibe for that and start to get interested, or at least have an understanding, which Kyle probably does better now because he watched it twice, of like the lore, you can actually start to get intrigued. It's any kind of like fantasy, like Lord of the Rings type story. Like there's a lot of plot. I guess even Harry Potter too. Like those kind of stories, a lot of background information, which you might have to do some independent research or pay very close attention to.
Right. It's a show you need to kind of put your phone in the couch cushions a little bit and just
No texting,
relax.
no snapping, no tweeting. But no, as for what I thought, it was good. It opens up as any good Game of Thrones hopeful show should do. King's Landing, you know? It's a place that many lives have been lost, will be lost, and will be lost in the
in the next 200 years.
yeah, quite a few, like literally quite a few. No, it's cool because like it's following the Targaryen household, which I told Kyle, he's never watched it, but if you've watched the other Game of Thrones, you know that Targaryen is not a main player in the Game of Thrones. It's House Lannister primarily and House Stark and a couple other houses, which we get name drops. House Baratheon.
We do get a Stark name drop towards the end of the episode as well.
He swore fealty to Queen Daenerys. But no, it's like the plot was relatively simple. It was just opening up, kind of explaining like what's going on. A Targaryen is in fact ruling.
Gets
King's
named to the
Landing.
throne when homeboy who had the most old man haircut of
Yeah.
all time is on the throne.
I just love young
His
people.
son dies. They describe this. There's a very like informative prologue. If you guys are doing what I'm doing, where current king at the time, his son dies, the other son dies, so he has to name somebody as an heir to the throne, and that's when I don't know about you, Dylan. I fucking hate this king. And he's not a bad dude. It's just he has zero backbone and is just, as I've been calling it to everybody, he's a baby back bitch. I'm totally blanking on his name.
It's King Daenerys, right?
Yes.
They all have like the same 5 names. Like it's like Daenerys, Viserion. It's like V and R.
Yeah.
Just you throw like, oh yeah, it's King Viserion. That sounds like it goes.
Okay, write it down. He drives me absolutely insane because you're supposed to be a leader, especially during peacetime, that this portion of the show
Could
is
that
happening.
be foreshadowing to him losing his mind?
Totally. I don't know if it's going to be him losing his mind per se, but he has zero backbone
He's not
and
giving a fuck.
he's so caught up on having
You
a
think it's
son.
correlating to his wound?
Maybe.
Because they did have pus. That
Ugh,
could be infection.
Dude, that shit was disgusting.
That was more disgusting than the guy getting his head bashed open.
Yeah.
I was like, that's just me.
That scene in and of itself, I wanted to gag. Like,
Yeah.
that was some, like, Dr. Pimple Popper type shit.
Yeah, I'm not into
of,
that.
like, disgustingness.
Not into that.
I think the actor is fantastic. I just think the character
Yes, and if you're
is a bum.
if you've seen a movie called Hot Fuzz, he
Yes.
is in fact Andy, the douchebag detective from Hot Fuzz,
Yes.
which makes it that much more
And
hilarious.
he kind of looks like a variant Nicolas Cage.
also true. Makes it hilarious.
I love what my coworker is calling generic Daenerys.
Yeah, that's a great one too. I will say though, in terms of casting, like I didn't really hate any of the actors'
We
performances.
both love Matt Smith. So if Matt Smith wants to come on the show, by
That'd
the
be
way,
awesome.
totally down. And
Matt
for
Smith.
people that don't know, Matt Smith is the 11th Doctor in Doctor Who, if you're a Doctor Who
his
fan.
career's starting to take off in mainstream
And
media.
he was also the villain vampire in Morbius. So this is actually House of the Morbid.
And
But he plays a fantastic villain in this show. Like, he's the star, in my opinion, of the first episode.
I think he is 100% the star because he creates this character that, as it sits, is the heir to the throne because of the king's poor.
He's the king's brother.
He's the king's poor genes, and his brother, the king, he's shooting blanks in the sun department. And as it stands, because of some of his children dying and only having daughters, his brother is the heir to the king. And then, long story short, I mean, we're getting ahead of ourselves, but he has a son briefly, and it dies, or he dies, and then the wife dies. So once again, his brother is perceivably the king. So it creates this cool character arc because this character is very brash, kind of charismatic.
He's cocky as hell.
Very cocky, very full of himself. A little bit weird with his niece, but we're not sure where that's going. Hopefully,
or are we?
Hopefully not that direction. I don't think Matt Smith would want to do that as an actor.
I hope not.
God, please. No. But it's interesting because his character is at root very intriguing because he's like evil, but not because I feel like, and he explains it kind of in the episode. His motive is because his brother doesn't keep him by his side.
Right.
And that's why he's so vile.
He's like...
But at the same time, would he still be brash and vile to a lesser degree if he was by his brother's side? Because he seems like a kind of guy who's just like... He's
almost like Malfoy's dad in Harry Potter, but doesn't have like the... the shield come down, if you will. Like, the guard doesn't come down on Matt Smith's character at all. Like, there's the moment with them in the chamber and everything where him and his brother kind of argue about everything after he toasts to dead baby boy.
That was a good scene.
But other than that, like, Matt Smith's character is a certified sicko. And by sicko, I mean, like, he just doesn't give a fuck. Like, he is part of the City Watch and sends everybody out to just destroy the entire village of Westeros.
And that's the scene that Kyle was telling you.
I mean, we see a man's testicles get chopped off and laid on a silver platter.
And he farts.
Nervous fart, which was fantastic.
That's the funniest shit I've ever seen. I turned to Kyle, I was like, "You just fart?" And he's like, "Yep."
Yep. It was fantastic. We get bashed in skulls. We get chopped off hands, chopped off limbs.
The jousting tournament was insane.
We get a beheading as well,
which is funny because it also the parallel, you called it out. The parallel of as his child is hopefully being born and is born briefly. Well, at the time you think maybe not, but briefly, it's cool. The parallel of the knights fighting and like jousting.
Yeah.
Whilst the child's being born, and like the blood of the child being born and having like I guess the world's first or second C-section, and then very poorly done.
They should not give all those people another chain link, which is basically like a merit badge apparently from what I went and looked up. They do not get one for gynecology.
They get one taken away actually.
Yeah, they lose their chain necklace.
Yeah, also that's a tough scene to watch. He chooses this child over the over his wife, which I guess objectively, if you look at it, like if we knew she was going to die, it's just kind of the age-old like psych class of the trolley. Like you can pull the lever and kill like 5 people or like 10 people. Well, I mean, most people would answer either none, like don't touch it, or they would save 10, murder the 5. So I guess logically, save the infant, the person who hasn't lived
the heir
life,
to the throne,
who hasn't lived, heir to the throne life, who hasn't been lived yet, or presumably 40-year-old woman, 35, I don't know, 30. But at the same time, you also could argue, well, it's not even born. Well, it's barely born yet, or his wife. So either way, my point is, he made a very tough decision. I don't think I'd be able to decide. No. I would have folded.
And I like the parallels of that like filming of that scene going back and forth to the tournament versus the birth of the child, because he refers to like them being in the bedroom is like a war pretty much because they haven't been able to have a son.
I will say for the times, I'm putting that out there because
Yes.
obviously he did make her have a bunch of kids. His character did seem nice to his wife. Besides ultimately killing her. That's funny to say, but I think Kyle understands what I'm trying to say.
For sure.
It didn't portray him as like an abuser or a douchebag.
Or like Matt Smith referring to
Yeah.
his wife as like basically a sheep
yeah.
and going and fucking
No, they
sheep.
seemed like they had an actual relationship, which is an interesting route to take because in this kind of setting, we know that not always kings and queens had, great relationships. So it's interesting to see them be kind of close, which makes it even more like heartbreaking that he, basically had her killed. Not had her killed, but like chose the child over the wife.
Right.
But like the plot is literally just introducing the family, showing them rule, kind of showing some unsettling things like the brother being aggressive and the king being, I guess Kyle put it, a baby back bitch, and potentially having a really bad scab and dying, maybe going crazy. And it shows characters. It gets introduced characters. They have a tournament. He thinks he has an heir, no heir. You're like, whoa, what the hell? And he has to name an heir, and it's between his brother or his daughter. And he ends up choosing his daughter because him and his brother have a falling out.
Yeah, and this episode is called The Heirs of the Dragon. And it takes place in the year... it's 172 years, like we said, before the birth of Daenerys from the original Game of Thrones show and book, obviously, if you're a book reader. The tournament scene was probably my favorite in terms of just the action, the colors involved, and like the cinematography of like hitting all of those spots. The lighting was great. And like I said, the back and forth between...
I like the plot twist, too, of Matt Smith's character actually yielding.
Yes, that was pretty neat.
I thought he was going to stab the guy in the foot.
I was watching a reaction video, and they were like, Pedro Pascal's character already did this. Pedro Pascal's character already did this.
Kyle, you just brought up trauma, homie. Oh, my
This
Lord.
is the way.
Thank God he's alive in that show. That's all I got to say.
So Otto informs the small council that while at a brothel, Daemon toasted Balon, who is now the dead son of the king, styling him as the heir for a day. What a fucking savage. Like, that's some, like, hardcore sicko mode shit. Viserys removes Daemon from the line of succession, and after naming Rhaenyra his heir, tells her that Aegon the Conqueror dreamed of a threat Westeros can only defeat if a Targaryen sits on the Iron Throne. Which, Dylan, what were your thoughts on the updated, new-look Iron Throne?
I loved it. It was very metal. Although
Shout out Eddie Munson.
Although it looks not safe. Homeboy keeps cutting himself on it.
Which I think the cool thing that I picked up on, too, from that, where when you see him have, like, the sore on his back and everything and the way he sits on the throne, Matt Smith's character knows how to properly sit on the throne because he's leaning to the left a little bit, kind of, crooked almost in that, so he doesn't get stabbed, where the current king is, sitting back to the throne. He pricks his finger on there, gets a little blood on the throne. Like, that just shows, like he's
literal,
not fit to be king.
Exactly. It's literal storytelling, which that's why the things you're describing, that's why I fell in love with Game of Thrones, because there's these little things they put in. I've rewatched, not the last season, God no. I rewatched most of Game of Thrones twice, and similar to what you're describing, unfortunately for the poor souls when you watch it the first time, there is little Easter egg, little crumbs, and like when you watch it again, you're like, oh my God, that character is definitely gonna die. But you watch it the first time, you're naive, and you're like, no, and then they die. But like, it's really cool that you picked that off, because I was gonna bring that up too, and it's very interesting to see, like, he was chosen to be the king, and the brother also did his murderous rampage because he quotes that his brother allowed crime to run rampant in the city, which is a trend, by the way. You wouldn't know that. Okay. So King's Landing is very much a gambling, drunken,
which we see in the tournament. Homeboy has the coin purse.
I'm not saying this offensively. It's very much true in Game of Thrones. It's a whore-filled town. They're hard work women. But like my point is,
we stand sex workers on this pod.
But like my point is, that's very much the narrative. You mean of the town?
Yes. We we see, we have a
Crooked.
female heir to the throne now.
Which is interesting because that's something you see again in Game of Thrones.
And we see that dagger that we brought up last week.
I think it's mentioned that a woman sat on the throne in Game of Thrones before a certain character does. Or characters, I guess, technically.
And we see that dagger we talked about last week, which for everybody at home,
which
Easter egg hint. It
doesn't bode well for the young girls, I'm trying to say.
It's the dagger that Arya uses to kill the Night King, which I do know that scene. Because that's all over your timeline when Game of Thrones is on TV.
I don't remember. You could correct me if I'm wrong. Put in the comments. I don't remember any real storytelling of Game of Thrones. Granted, it's a while ago for like the show, but like of the current queen to be, because the guy's still king. I don't really remember anything about her being said. So like, yikes!
Zoink, Scoop. And then. Before we get into a segment that we're going to do
Just saying, Matt Smith might kill her to become ruler.
Before we get into our segment we're going to do on our House of the Dragon episodes, which I'm brainstorming in my head right now, Dragon Scrolls, which is listener and viewer submitted questions about each episode. We got quite a few, which I was very excited about. I got to say, the dragons look fucking sick.
Thank you.
The dragons looked fucking sick. And we saw 3 or 4 in this episode.
I think so, yeah.
Because we saw the one in the beginning. We saw the red dragon, Matt Smith's dragon, which I don't know if that was the red one or not.
I think it was red.
And then we saw
because he had that woman put her hand on it.
Right, and they fly off on it. And then we saw the one that
Lucky
burns our dead queen and
that's the same
heir
one
for the
that
day.
The new queen was riding.
Okay.
Earlier, so we at least saw 2 or 3. Either way. Awesome.
But we did get some Dragon Scrolls from our listeners. You guys can tweet at us at StreamerSZN. You can slide up in Dylan's Twitter or Instagram DMs, my Twitter or Instagram DMs. This one comes from our good pal who might make an appearance on this show at some point during our House of the Dragon breakdowns, one Mikey Ostrowski, Dylan. So this is his submitted thoughts on episode 1. Only thing I got so far is the reason why nobody believed Jon about the White Walkers in Game of Thrones is because the secret died during Robert's Rebellion.
I'm sorry, read that. I got distracted.
Only thing I got so far is the reason why nobody believed Jon about the White Walkers in Game of Thrones is because the secret, in quotes, died during Robert's Rebellion. There's much more in Mikey's submission as well.
This is Mikey saying that?
Yeah. And then I'm just trying to... Okay, so here's his actual stuff from House of the Dragon. My actual theory, only one so far, is that Otto's daughter did end up, or will soon enough, hooking up with the king, and the Hightowers are, at some point, going to have a legit claim to the throne, which the Hightowers are generic Daenerys's bestie. That's her family.
Yes. That's the dad, Otto, as well.
Yes. From there, even though Daemon wants the throne, he'll shock us and back up Rhaenyra because he'll realize he wants the Targaryens to keep the throne more than he actually wants it himself. He's being set up as the bad guy, but I kind of think he'll do some cool shit.
I agree with that. And also, to go on his point, they make a point... I think Daemon says it, that Otto, the king, the hand of the king, comes from nothing. He has nothing. Like he's his second son. He's not married to anyone. I think he's widowed, right? His wife's dead, presumably. That's like kind of foreshadows that. So my point is, him getting power, his family getting power. What Kyle just said, what Mikey just said, his daughter making a baby with the king, because that immediately supersedes his daughter and gives a legit heir to the throne. And if that happens and his daughter, happens to fall, the baby is the king or the queen.
Yes. Another Dragon Scroll submitted from the one and only our boy E-Rock on Twitter at @E-Rock_Eagles. Make sure you follow the boy. He said, very glad I jumped in on it 20 minutes late because there was a lot of uncomfortable fast forwarding.
I'm assuming he's returning to the uncomfortable fart scene.
I'm assuming that, and I'm assuming the C-section.
That was brutal.
Yes.
I actually winced a little bit. Normally I don't. That was gross.
And I said, noted for when I watch it on Wednesday, having never watched Game of Thrones either. And he said, you'll know it when you get there. And then this comes from Jason Henderson as well, at JHendo on Twitter. It was ... a lot. And then he responded to E-Rock saying, you'll know when you get there. I don't even think the worst part was the worst part.
And to Jay and E-Rock, I'm sure we'll see more fucked up shit.
Yes, especially after they show kind of like the in the weeks to come thing at the end of episode 1.
Yeah, and Kyle, to go, I mean, it kind of it's in the name, but like, so the whole point of the in a gist, the OG Game of Thrones, right? There's main characters and they do their little story arcs and they have their little little journeys, but like everyone else and even them, it all literally Game of Thrones, they are all trying to become king, queen, or have a seat of higher power. So what my point is, for anyone that's in Kyle's shoes that are watching it for the first time, or maybe didn't watch the OG show as much, just know that literally almost any character cannot be trusted, because ultimately, and you've learned it from the first Game of Thrones if you watched it, a lot of people end up backstabbing or siding, like you were saying, with different houses, and they have different like rebellions or alliances, and so that's why I like the show, because it's like no one's safe and everyone's kind of out for themselves, which would kind of make Mikey's thing be interesting, where Damien, well, once again, he is kind of out for himself in terms of he's looking out for the Targaryen line, but not for himself directly. Point is, though, like, we will have some extreme backstabbing, and I think it starts from the council that we've seen. They've kind of all been a little shady, a little shoddy. I understand it might be procedure, but literally to have that meeting the day of
the
homeboy's son for 5 minutes,
sicko shit.
Guys, that's nuts.
I have my favorite 4 characters so far.
I mean, there's quite a few, so go for it.
Obviously, Matt Smith's character, standing. Damon fucking rules. What an awesome villain. Air quotes for Mikey.
My number one's
so far.
Nervous fart guy.
He gets an honorable mention from me. I love Rhaenyra's character.
She's cool.
I think she's very cool. I think her character development, if she sticks around, will be
you never know,
very dope. I like her bestie, Lady Hightower, and I really like the couple that the one is the black gentleman with
the sick ass hair.
Yeah, the blonde dreads. I'm blanking on his name.
He's in charge of the treasury, right?
I think so. Love his character.
He's not King of the Hand. He's not the religious guy, and I don't think. Yeah, maybe he is.
He's very fucking cool. I want to see more from him, hopefully. And I like his wife as well, because she's very like on edge, and she mentions like, we haven't been to war. None of these people know what war is about. And to me, that's just setting up from what we saw from the City Watch scene, that Matt Smith's character is about to fuck these motherfuckers up, and they're not going to be prepared for it.
Could he possibly be declaring war on the throne? Maybe he declares.
Wouldn't shock me.
Maybe he declares war, and it's like one of those things where the Hightower thing happens, and then he kind of revokes it and goes with his family. But no, I definitely agree. He's numero uno for me. Number 2 is probably the same as yours as well. She's an interesting actress. It's interesting to see like a woman who looks so much like Emilia Clarke.
She's got control over the dragons.
Yeah, it's also number 3 and 4 are the dragons. No, kidding.
Yes, dragons as well. They fucking rule.
3 and 4 just like random side character ish. I enjoyed the knight who made Matt Smith yield.
I liked him too.
He didn't say much, but his actions spoke louder than words.
Yes.
So that's really corny, but it was interesting because it showed a lot of the knights being petty. Like Kyle and I were laughing. The one guy threw a shield at the one guy, and they just started fucking fist fighting. And then he got his head bashed in.
Yes.
Didn't work out for him. But like, so number 3 would be him, and then number 4, I'll do another side character to keep it a little different. I like the one guard with the Scottish accent that follows the queen around.
Yeah. He was cool.
Although that character in the other Game of Thrones, that was that position, they've done some backstabbing. Or not backstabbing per se, but if you pay them more money, they listen.
House of the Dragon, ladies and gents. Dylan, episode 1, as we always do with every show we break down.
I'm going to give it a pretty tame score. It's not going to be anything crazy. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10.
That's pretty high for Dylan, too.
Yeah. Nothing
coming
crazy.
in to us recording today, I had been jogging between 3 scores from an initial watch. Getting that second watch in, I think, helped.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give it a 7.6. Simply because there's still a lot to, unfold. And
that's not bad, people. Kyle did not watch Game of Thrones. He gave it over a 7.5, 7.6. That's him saying he actually...
On first watch, I was stuck at, a 6.9.
Nice.
Nice. Because I was jogging between 6.8, 6.9, 7.1.
Which is still that range of score where it's like, I could watch this. It's not my cup of tea per se.
Everybody knows if we go below a 5, that's when it's like, what the fuck are we watching? Which Dylan and I, thankfully, have not gone below 5.
Hopefully we never say 5 or anything else below that.
But I'm giving it a 7.6. I like the action. It was a little I would have loved a little just hey, some scenes may be a little sensitive for viewers. To go right in, it was just like, what the fuck? It does
briefly on top left when it starts. It says violence, nudity.
Yeah, that ain't enough. I need a full big giant black screen with white script saying, hey y'all, you might be grossed out a bit.
You ever seen a man's testes get sawed off before? You want to see it again?
I like some of the characters, like we just mentioned. The dragons were fucking
good job
cool.
Casting. So
the cast overall is great.
Thinking about it now, after I just watched it, no one did a bad job. I can't really nitpick so far, anyway.
And it's a pilot episode, so we'll see.
Good.
There's 10 episodes.
As bad as it could have been, because Kyle knows, and I'm sure many millions around the world were skeptical, it did not disappoint.
Yeah, I mean, especially, like I said, I would personally give it 2 watches if you can afford the time. Yeah. It's an hour and some change for the first episode.
5 minutes, something like that.
Yeah, because they show the behind the scenes thing,
which are cool to watch.
Yeah, that helped me a lot too on the first watch. So if you're like me, I recommend that. But yeah, 7.6. Dylan gives it an 8 flat, which to do quick math, it's 15.6 divided by 2. Is a little difficult to do in the brain, but dividing that by 2 is a 7.8. That's a 7.8 on a pilot episode, ladies and gents, for a show that I had very low expectations for.
Yeah, that's incredible.
But House of the Dragon episode 1 in the books. It's out every Sunday. I know these episodes don't come out until Friday, but hey. You get it throughout the week, and you wrap up with us, and you use us to go into episode 2. Yes, because Dylan and I really don't get an opportunity to watch it live because it comes out on Sundays, so we got to wait and watch it later in the week.
Yeah, I just watched it now because I was so busy with work,
So you get to recap episode 1 with us on a Friday.
Which
go
I'm
into
kind of not mad that we watched it today because now I only have to wait a couple days because I very much, you might be in the same boat now. You watch it twice and you like it better. I very much want to know where they're going to go next.
Mm-hmm. Which, hey, I mean, if we can afford to do it, if we can watch it on Sundays, Dylan and I might just watch it together and then film that portion of the episode together. That way it's bang in the bank for you guys, and then it'll be out there. But House of the Dragon, good job catching my attention. And like I said, before we started breaking everything down, 1, submit your Dragon Scrolls, which are just listener-submitted theories, thoughts on the episodes, all that good stuff, good, bad, or in between. Let us know. Tweet at us, at StreamerSZN, slide in the Instagram DMs, Twitter DMs, all that good stuff. We want to hear from you guys throughout the 10 episodes of House of the Dragon. And if the YouTube channel gets to 1K, I'll watch Season 1 of Game of Thrones.
That's a good bet, and I have to cosplay something as well.
So there it is.
So you guys get a lot from that one.
There it
day.
is. Dylan, it is time to get to everybody's favorite segment. It is the streaming platform Multiverse News and Notes, brought to you by our pals over at Pickup. You guys can go to playpickup.com, start playing the hottest headlines in sports, rack up points on your fan profiles, cash them in for prizes on the Pickup marketplace. They got a lot of cool stuff on there. Let me just say that. They got a lot of cool stuff for you guys to go get. That's playpickup.com. Dylan, we have, as of 2 hours ago, via Variety, Dan Lin is in talks to take over DC and oversee future film and TV projects. He previously produced the following titles: the Lego Movie.
Okay.
I believe this is the live-action version of Aladdin, and the It movies.
It's a roller coaster of emotions like this. Kyle's like, yeah? No. Yeah?
This might make you very happy. Season 4 of The Boys, a new confirmed member of the cast, Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
I did see that. And
Your thoughts?
If he plays the character I allegedly saw he's going to play, which I believe is called Metal Knight, or something Knight, they're going to get kicked off the TV with this one. This character is nuts in the comic. I did like a little brief synopsis, and I was like, I can't even say, Kyle, what this guy does. He just does some crazy stuff, man. But it's going to be awesome because that guy's a pretty cool bad guy actor. He's did good as Negan in The Walking Dead. He has a good voice. I think he fits the role rather well. I also have some news. If you are a fan of the video game BioShock, apparently they are live or greenlighting that to be a live-action movie.
Interesting.
Very interesting because Kyle, I'm not sure if you've ever played BioShock, and if anyone who hasn't, here's a brief little summary of the game. So you are a man that crashes into the ocean. You thus find like a Atlantis type like city that it is built by people, like a secret society, but it's like a legit, fully functioning like New York-esque or Boston-esque like big city underwater. The only problem is they thought it would be a good idea to give out drugs, and everyone's like either dead or they're kind of cracked out. If we're being honest,
I'll bring this up too. This is via Deadline for the BioShock. It's going to be on Netflix. Francis Lawrence will direct, and Michael Green will write the script. For the people at home, Francis Lawrence directed I Am Legend.
Oh, it's going to be scary then.
And the Hunger Games films.
Yeah.
Michael Green co-wrote Logan and Blade Runner 2049.
That's a pretty sick. It's a good setting for that. But point is,
that intrigues me.
That's pretty much where it's at. And then also, this is the weirdest part. There are these giant things called Big Daddies, and
I didn't know I was in this movie.
They are. Kyle, you've probably seen that picture before. That's what the Big Daddies.
Yes.
They look like that.
Okay.
And then they have the little girls.
Kind of looks like if you took George from Monsters Inc. and made him like alien-like.
I think they're called little sisters, but the little girls also follow them around.
Okay.
And it's not creepy. Like it's a daughter father, like a legit bond. Like they
get your heads out of the gutters, you freaks.
I know there's some weird people out there, but like point is that's just a weird like franchise to potentially, because there are several street BioShocks. So I don't know where they're going with that.
Dylan, I think we need some fan art made. So if there's any artists out there, I think I would love to see one of our beloved heroes, Eddie Munson, sitting on the Iron Throne.
That'd be sick.
Because the next news here involves Stranger Things Season 5. The final season, Dylan, will have 8 episodes.
Wow.
Getting back to its roots like Season 1 and Season 3 had. 8 episodes for the final season of Stranger Things. But if you or somebody you know can draw us Eddie Munson with his guitar and all decked out in some Hellfire Club shit on the Iron Throne, and it makes sense because he was in Game of Thrones, let us know. Hit us up. We would love that. Batgirl directors Adil and Bilal, who also were the directors and producers of Miss Marvel, are open to directing another DC movie, saying that if they call us, we are there. Hopefully Batgirl gets released somewhere. Warner Brothers Discovery only has enough money to release 2 movies the rest of the year, which will be Black Adam and Don't Worry, Darling.
I saw that. That is crazy.
Here is, obviously, we had the She-Hulk premiere. Now we have the numbies out there, Dylan, which we always like to talk about. The premiere was watched by 1.5 million households during its first 4 days. Here's how it stacks up to the other live-action shows. Miss Marvel debuted with 775,000. She-Hulk and Hawkeye debuted with 1.5 million. WandaVision debuted with 1.6 million. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier debuted with 1.8 million, as did Moon Knight. And then our boy Loki debuted with 2.5 million.
That's crazy, the difference in some of them.
Barbie Ferreira will not return for Euphoria Season 3. For all the Euphoria fans out there, she announced it on her Instagram. Let's see here.
Seeing if I can find any more news. I had something else saved, but just like how I always do, oh, here you go. Another video game turned movie, Horizon Zero Dawn. That one I didn't play, so I can't really give you a synopsis.
We have some more rumors for the Fantastic Four, Dylan. Obviously, after the original director stepped down, John Watts, who directed the 3 Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, there were the rumors that one John Krasinski was potentially going to star/direct. Yeah. Now there's a rumor that, this is via the direct, Matt Shackman is rumored to be directing the Fantastic Four. He previously directed WandaVision.
Interesting.
Let's see.
They confirmed a final and 4th season of The Umbrella Academy.
Interesting.
I believe they're starting to film soon, or if they have not already.
Here's some House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones news. Carice Van Houten wants to reprise her role as Melisandre in House of the Dragon. Okay. The character is several centuries old during the events of Game of Thrones. This is her character for Dylan to see.
Oh, yeah, she is like a witch.
She wants to reprise her role in House of the Dragon. Let's see. Here's how the budget for House of the Dragon compares to the beginning and end of Game of Thrones. Season 1 of Game of Thrones, Dylan, had a $6 million budget. Game of Thrones Season 8 had a $15 million budget. And House of the Dragon Season 1 has about a $20 million budget. And to me, I think it showed.
Yeah. When you, because we're going to get to 1K subscribers, when you watch Season 1, you'll see it's done how, like, a lot of studios and movies do, like, when they know they don't have a lot of money and they film it like that. But it's still good, but you can just tell because there's no over-the-top shit.
And also remember, like, Season 1 of Game of Thrones came out in, what, 2011?
Yeah, my boy Sean Bean's
so $6 million in 2011 that's a shit ton of money to be putting out for a show back then.
It's a lot.
We have a quote here from Tony Gilroy via Variety saying that there's no fan service in Andor.
I like that.
Which I know you enjoy.
Yeah, give me new content for Star Wars. I'm tired of the same 2 characters.
He said, I wanted to do it about real people. They've made all this IP about the royal family in essence. There are a billion other beings in the galaxy. The revolution is affecting them just as much as anybody else. I feel like Tony Gilroy listens to this fucking podcast, Dylan.
He's got my house bugged, bro. That's really what I've been saying.
Dylan, we got our first trailer for the live-action Pinocchio film that will release on Disney Plus September 8th. Pinocchio looks like a reincarnation of the cartoon, which is pretty cool.
It looks kind of scary.
King Kong series is in development at Disney Plus, which is very interesting because that is I think Paramount product right there.
I keep laughing. It's not funny. Whenever I keep seeing the tweet, individuals are attending funeral screenings of Batgirl. Individuals that worked on Batgirl are attending funeral screenings of the film on WB lot before the film was locked away forever in a vault. And apparently the director or one of the directors said they tried going back in the mainframe. I guess they store computers on, like, servers, safe servers. And then they were like, shit, it's not there.
Wow. There's a clip via Culture Crave that compared the tournaments in Game of Thrones Season 1 versus House of the Dragon Season 1. And Culture Crave tweeted Robert Baratheon. Is that there?
It's Baratheon. Yeah.
Baratheon.
That was the deer logo we saw.
Okay.
On the yellow shield.
Culture Crave said Robert Baratheon was really broke. John Boyega says he won't return to Star Wars. Quote, I'm good.
I saw that.
Shout out to SiriusXM for that one. The King Kong series, the series follows a new Kong and explores the mythology of his origin story and supernatural mysteries of Skull Island. James Wan is producing. The Harry Potter trio of Daniel Radcliffe, Rupert Grint, and Emma Watson were introduced as a trio 22 years ago this week, which is absolutely fucking insane. Still in discussion at HBO Max, still in Matt Reeves' Batman spinoff series on the Arkham Asylum.
Yeah, what the hell is up with this?
It's still in discussion.
I need it. That's all I got in my end.
Did you see the viral TikTok of our boy, Venom, a.k.a. Bane, a.k.a. Tom Hardy, in the jiu-jitsu tournament?
Yeah, the comments are like, imagine you want to like do like martial arts and you have to fight Bane.
That would be absurd.
Imagine if you win against him.
I think you're going to like this news here. It involves a movie we watched known as Dune, which we'll be watching part 2.
The Spice.
Dune Awakening is in development at Funcom. It's an open-world survival MMO game.
That's pretty cool.
We have Halloween Ends will now release in theaters and on Peacock on October 14th.
Peacock. That's the one I only go on.
Matt Reeves signs an overall first-look deal with Warner Brothers to develop projects for the studio. Quote, making this legendary studio my home is a dream.
That didn't age well.
He said, this is from Warner Brothers, quote, we're making an investment for whatever Matt feels a pull toward in the Batman universe and otherwise. He has an open invitation to go wherever his interests take him.
That aged poorly.
I feel like they need to pull in a deal in Bilal with Matt Reeves and put Leslie Grace's Batgirl in the Matt Reeves Batman universe.
Maybe Matt Reeves wants to do that. Maybe he'll retcon it.
Come on, Matt Reeves. You're our only hope. I want to watch the show now that I have Hulu. I can watch it. The Only Murderers in the Building show with Steve Martin, Selena Gomez. And, Season 3, Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
The sexiest man alive.
That's true.
We got a new trailer for Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, premiering September 2nd on Amazon Prime.
I haven't watched any trailers really on that. I'm trying to go on blind.
Let's see. George R.R. Martin via the Wall Street Journal says he wants to build out the Game of Thrones universe in the same style as Marvel and Star Wars.
I'm like mixed on that.
Let's see.
Because, you run the risk of doing too much.
He also reiterates that he fought for at least 10 seasons of Game of Thrones, saying it needs I was saying it needs to be 10 seasons, maybe 12 or 13. I lost that one. HBO also pushed for more seasons, but D&D refused.
Ugh.
He also followed up saying, I had no contribution to the later seasons except, inventing this world, the story, and all the characters. I believe I have more influence now than I did on the original show. Also, the biggest series premiere in HBO history, House of the Dragon, brought in nearly 10 million viewers in the U.S. alone.
Sheesh. There's actually a video I saw it on Instagram of an apartment building, and someone's like on the street view looking up, and they were all watching House of the Dragon because looking in on their windows, everyone's apartment
I did see that
was like chimed in at the same exact like lighting. It was crazy.
Dan Harmon confirms that a Community movie is happening.
Interesting.
There's a story outline and negotiations are underway.
It's a show I haven't watched in a while.
It's a matter of when and not if, for sure. Jordan Peele's Nope releases on digital this coming Friday. So as you guys are listening, it'll be on digital. Great movie. Loved it.
Loved it.
Let's see here. Season 4 of The Boys is now filming.
Amazing.
And the title of the Season 4 premiere is The Department of Dirty Tricks.
That's a great show, man. You need to watch that.
Yeah, that is on my watch list. Also, a movie we will definitely be watching closer to Christmas time. Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery, will release on Netflix December 23rd.
Glass Onion?
That is the name of it. It's called Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery.
Is it part of the Knives Out?
Yes.
Okay.
So the way that Knives Out's working, I forget if we've talked about this on the show or not. Daniel Craig's character is coming back from the first Knives Out, but then the rest of the cast is completely different.
New cast. New like murder mystery.
New mystery, new cast, except for Daniel Craig's character, and that's going to be for the second one, the third one, and I think they're doing a fourth one as well, and it's all going to be through Netflix. Netflix purchased the Knives Out property for like $1 gazillion. But I'm excited. Knives Out 1 was great, and the cast for season 2 is insane.
Still haven't seen it.
We'll have to watch that.
I do.
It's right up your alley. But I think
just forget to watch it.
I think that's all we got for you guys. Very fun episode. Lot to dive into. That's how it's going to be for the next 10 weeks.
You have a crap ton of content.
Plus, it's only going to pick up when Andor comes out. So that's why you got to follow us at StreamerSZN on Twitter, Instagram. Follow Dylan on Twitter at Dylan Mazzola. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Send us your Dragon Scrolls. Tweet at us during House of the Dragon. Let us know your thoughts, theories, good or bad or in between. Tweet at us. Slide in our Instagram DMs. If you follow us on Instagram, we'll be posting about it on all of our social medias to send us, everything that you want to talk about. We're going to read them on every single show for the next 10 weeks as we did on this one. So
exactly. I'm looking forward to it. And despite this crazy schedule we have, like it's bender of shows, if you will, let us know what you want us to watch.
Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and in a 5-star review. Listen to what Dylan says every week. Let us know what you want us to watch. There's a ton of stuff out that is like in our backlog of things we're going to watch once, things slow down a little bit with the shows and everything, which I think once December hits.
What's worse than one giant bubble? 2 giant bubbles.
We got about 3.
Yeah.
So let us know what you want us to watch. Leave a 5-star rating and review on Apple and Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. And subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel where you get full video episodes of Streamer Season and every Underground Sports Philadelphia podcast. And like we said on tonight's show, if we get to 1,000 subscribers, I watch Season 1 of Game of Thrones. Dylan will cosplay as something of your choice in the YouTube comment section.
I'll regret that, but yeah.
And just like we said, you can also send your Dragon Scrolls, your She-Hulk theories in the comment section below on YouTube. Smash that like button, ring the bell icon, and comment down below. And be a friend, tell a friend. Share the channel with your friends and family. And big thank you to our sponsors who make this show happen. Tomahawk Shades, Pickup, Kenwood Beer, and Bino Board. All of their information is linked in the show notes on audio and in the description on YouTube. This has been another episode of Streamer Season, the exclusive streaming platform TV and movie podcast on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. For my fellow Cowabunga boy, Dylan Mazzola, I'm your boy KB. And until next week, we're going to go ride some dragons and Hulk out with our muscle mommy. See ya.